Welcome to the Sleep Library, where history flows as gently as warm water over ancient marble. Tonight, we journey back nearly 2,000 years to discover one of civilization's most peaceful sanctuaries, the Roman bathhouse. Here, in these temples of water and stone, Romans found refuge from the demands of daily life. They created spaces where time moved slowly, where warm waters soothed tired bodies, and where the simple act of bathing became a ritual of restoration and renewal. As we explore these ancient sanctuaries together, let the gentle rhythm of our story carry you into relaxation. Listen to the soft splash of thermal waters. Feel the radiant warmth of heated floors, and discover how our ancestors understood something profound about the healing power of slowing down. Close your eyes if you wish. Let the peaceful world of Roman baths wash over you like the warm waters that once embraced countless souls seeking rest and renewal. Our journey begins now, in the quiet hours when mist still clings to ancient stones. In the quiet hours of morning, when mist still clings to ancient stones and the world moves at the pace of flowing water, we find ourselves drawn to one of history's most enduring sanctuaries of peace. The Roman bathhouse, or Thermae as they were known, existed as more than mere places of cleansing. They were temples of time itself, where the rhythms of daily life slowed to match the gentle lapping of warm water against marble edges. To understand the Roman bath, we must first understand the Roman relationship with water. Long before the great aqueducts stretched their stone fingers across the countryside, the people of the Italian peninsula recognized water as sacred. Springs bubbled up from the earth like whispered secrets, carrying with them the warmth of deep places and the promise of healing. These natural hot springs, scattered across the volcanic landscape of central Italy, would become the inspiration for an empire's most cherished ritual. The earliest Roman baths were simple affairs, modest structures built around natural springs or heated pools. Archaeological evidence suggests that by the 2nd century BC, Romans had begun to formalize the bathing process, creating dedicated spaces where the business of daily life could pause in favor of something more contemplative. These early baths borrowed heavily from Greek gymnasium traditions, but the Romans, with their practical genius for engineering and their deep appreciation for comfort, would transform bathing into something uniquely their own. The word thermae itself derives from the Greek thermos, meaning hot, but the Roman interpretation went far beyond temperature. These were spaces designed for the gradual transition of both body and mind from the hurried world outside to a realm where time moved differently. The architecture itself encouraged this transition, with entrance halls that grew progressively more elaborate and peaceful as one moved deeper into the complex. Consider, for a moment, the careful thought that went into even the simplest bathhouse design. Visitors would enter through a vestibulum, an entrance hall where the sounds of the street began to fade. Here, beneath vaulted ceilings painted with scenes of flowing water and peaceful landscapes, the transformation from citizen to bather began. The floors, often decorated with intricate mosaics depicting marine life or geometric patterns, seemed to ripple underfoot like captured water, preparing the mind for the aquatic sanctuary ahead. The Romans understood that true relaxation required more than warm water. It required a complete environment, a cocoon of sensory experiences that would gradually release the tensions accumulated in daily life. The lighting in these entrance halls was deliberately subdued, filtering through carefully placed windows or reflecting softly of polished marble surfaces. The temperature was kept cool but comfortable, creating a gentle contrast with the warmth that awaited within. From these entrance halls, bathers would proceed to the tepidarium, the changing room, where the final vestiges of their outside identity would be set aside along with their clothing. These spaces were designed with the same attention to tranquility as the rest of the complex. Wooden benches, worn smooth like countless bodies, lined the walls beneath alcoves where personal belongings could be stored. The walls themselves were often decorated with frescoes depicting peaceful scenes, gardens in perpetual bloom, still waters reflecting cloudless skies, or simple geometric patterns that please the eye without demanding attention. The genius of Roman bath design lay in understanding that the human body and spirit needed time to adjust, to transition gradually from one state to another. This was not a culture that valued the shock of sudden temperature changes or the jarring disruption of routine. Instead, the Roman bath was designed as a journey, a carefully orchestrated progression through different experiences, each building upon the last to create a cumulative effect of deep relaxation and restoration. The Romans were master observers of human nature, and they recognized that people needed rituals, needed predictable sequences of actions that could anchor them in the present moment. The bathhouse provided these rituals in abundance. There was the ritual of undressing, performed with deliberate care in the quiet of the tepidarium. There was the ritual of oiling the skin, a practice borrowed from the Greeks, but refined by Roman sensibilities into something more contemplative than athletic. Oil played a crucial role in the Roman bathing experience, not merely as a cleanser, but as a medium for transformation. The oils used were often scented with herbs lavender for its calming properties, rosemary for mental clarity, or rose for its association with beauty and love. The application of oil was itself a meditative practice, performed slowly and with attention to each part of the body. Bathers would often help one another with this ritual, creating bonds of intimacy and care that extended the sense of community that was so central to Roman bath culture. The implements used in the bathhouse were designed to enhance this sense of ritual and ceremony. The strigil, a curved bronze or iron tool used to scrape oil and dead skin from the body, was both functional and beautiful. These tools were often decorated with intricate engravings and were considered personal items of some importance. The handling of the strigil required skill and patience, and its use became another of the many small ceremonies that made up the bathhouse experience. Water, of course, was the heart of the entire experience, but the Romans understood that not all water was the same. Different temperatures served different purposes, and the progression through these temperatures was as important as the temperatures themselves. Cold water was invigorating, but used sparingly, as a final seal to the bathing process rather than a primary experience. Warm water was comforting and cleansing, perfect for the long, contemplative soaks that were central to Roman bath culture. Hot water was medicinal and transformative, opening pores and releasing tensions that had settled deep in muscle and bone. The movement of water itself became part of the bathhouse's peaceful atmosphere. Engineers designed elaborate systems of pipes and channels that allowed water to flow continuously through the various pores and chambers. This constant flow served practical purposes, keeping the water clean and fresh, but it also created a soundtrack for relaxation. The gentle splash of water over marble edges, the quiet gurgle of drains, the soft echo of drops falling into still pools, these sounds became the heartbeat of the bathhouse, a rhythmic backdrop that helped visitors slip into states of deep calm. Temperature was controlled through an ingenious system called the hypocaust, which channeled heated air through hollow spaces beneath floors and within walls. This radiant heating system created an even gentle warmth that penetrated slowly into the body rather than assaulting it with sudden heat. The hypocaust represented Roman engineering at its most thoughtful, creating comfort through subtlety rather than force. As we prepare to journey deeper into the world of Roman bathhouses, it's worth pausing to consider what these spaces represented to their users. In a world without modern conveniences, where daily life was often harsh and unpredictable, the bathhouse offered a refuge of certainty and comfort. It was a place where social divisions blurred, where the wealthy merchant might find himself sharing a pour with a simple artisan, united in their common humanity by the universal need for cleansing and rest. The bathhouse was democracy in its purest form, not the democracy of the forum or the Senate House, but the democracy of shared physical experience. Here, stripped of the markers of status and profession, Romans could simply be human beings in need of warmth, cleansing, and community. This equalizing effect was not accidental, but was built into the very architecture and customs of the bathhouse, creating spaces where hierarchy gave way to harmony. The Roman bathhouse was far more than a collection of pools and chambers. It was a carefully orchestrated symphony of space and sensation, designed to guide the human spirit through a journey of gradual relaxation and renewal. Every element, from the height of ceilings to the placement of windows, was calculated to create an environment where time seemed to slow and the cares of daily life could be gently set aside. To truly understand the genius of Roman bath architecture, we must imagine ourselves as ancient visitors, approaching one of the great Thermae for the first time. The exterior walls rose before us like gentle cliffs, their surfaces adorned with simple yet elegant decorations that spoke of permanence and peace. These were not buildings designed to intimidate or awe, but rather to welcome and embrace. The stone itself, often travertine or marble, was chosen not only for its durability, but for its ability to radiate a warm, honey-colored light that grew more beautiful as the day progressed. The entrance facade typically featured a series of arched openings, their proportions based on mathematical ratios that pleased the eye without conscious effort. These arches created a rhythm, a visual heartbeat that began the process of synchronizing the visitor's internal state with the peaceful tempo of the bathhouse. Between the arches, niches often held statues of gods associated with health and water, Asclepius the healer, Neptune, lord of the seas, or local deities specific to the region's springs and rivers. Passing through these entrance portals, visitors found themselves in the vestibulum, a transitional space that served as a buffer between the outside world and the sacred precincts of the bath. The ceiling here was typically vaulted, creating a sense of expansiveness that began to lift the spirit, while muffling the sounds from the street outside. The floor, invariably paved with marble or decorated with mosaics, felt solid and permanent beneath the feet, grounding visitors even as their minds began to drift toward the relaxation that awaited. The mosaics themselves deserve particular attention, for they were chosen and placed with the same care that a composer might use in arranging musical themes. Common motifs included flowing water patterns, marine life, and geometric designs that seemed to ripple and flow when viewed from different angles. These images were not merely decorative, but served a psychological purpose, beginning the mental transition from the solid, earthbound world of daily concerns to the fluid, transformative realm of the bath. Lighting in these entrance spaces was controlled with remarkable sophistication. Windows were placed to capture the soft, indirect light of morning and afternoon while avoiding the harsh glare of midday sun. Clerestory windows, positioned high in the walls, allowed light to filter down gently, creating an illumination that changed subtly throughout the day. This natural lighting was supplemented by oil lamps placed in strategic locations, their warm, flickering glow adding a sense of intimacy and comfort as evening approached. The progression from entrance to the heart of the complex was never direct, but followed a carefully planned route that allowed for gradual adjustment. Corridors curved gently, opening occasionally onto small courtyards or garden spaces where the sound of trickling fountains provided a preview of the water experiences to come. These intermediate spaces served important functions, allowing groups to form and reform naturally, providing spots for brief conversations, and most importantly, giving visitors time to mentally prepare for each new stage of the bathing process. The tepidarium, or changing room, represented a crucial transition point in both the physical and psychological journey. These spaces were designed to feel simultaneously private and communal, with arrangements of benches and alcoves that allowed for personal space while maintaining the social aspect that was so important to Roman bath culture. The architecture here was deliberately understated clean lines, simple decorations, and surfaces that were pleasant to touch. The goal was to create a space that felt safe and welcoming without being distracting or overstimulating. Storage for personal belongings was integrated into the architecture itself, with built-in niches and shelves that became part of the wall decoration. These practical elements were carved and finished with the same attention to beauty as any ornamental feature, reflecting the Roman belief that functional objects should also please the eye. The benches were often made of wood, chosen for its warmth to the touch, and positioned to take advantage of any available natural light while maintaining privacy for changing. The heart of any Roman bath complex was the sequence of pools and chambers that made up the actual bathing circuit. The arrangement of these spaces followed a logic that was both practical and poetic, creating a journey through different temperatures and experiences that mimic the natural cycles of warming and cooling that the human body finds most restorative. The tepidarium, or warm room, was typically the first major space encountered after the changing area. This chamber was kept at a gentle, even temperature that felt welcoming to bodies still adjusting from the cool outside air. The architecture here emphasized comfort, and contemplation walls were often decorated with peaceful scenes. Pools were shallow enough to sit in comfortably, and seating areas were positioned to encourage quiet conversation or solitary reflection. The design of the tepidarium reflected a deep understanding of human psychology and physiology. The Romans recognized that sudden temperature changes could be shocking to the system and counterproductive to relaxation. Instead, the tepidarium provided a gradual warming that prepared the body for the more intense heat of the caldarium while allowing the mind to fully settle into the bathhouse rhythm. Moving from the tepidarium to the caldarium, or hot room, represented the journey to the thermal heart of the bathhouse experience. These spaces were architectural marvels, designed to contain and distribute intense heat while maintaining an atmosphere of luxurious comfort. The floors were raised on pillars to allow heated air to circulate beneath, creating radiant warmth that rose gently through the body rather than assaulting it from above. The pools in the caldarium were engineering masterpieces, with sophisticated systems for maintaining constant water temperature and quality. Hot water entered through carefully positioned inlets that created gentle currents, while overflow systems ensured that the water level remained constant and that impurities were continuously removed. The pool edges were designed with comfort in mind, featuring rounded lips and slopes that allowed bathers to rest comfortably against them for extended periods. Ventilation in the hot rooms required particular skill, as architects needed to remove excess humidity and maintain air quality without creating uncomfortable drafts or cooling the space too much. This was achieved through ingenious systems of vents and air channels that drew fresh air from outside, warmed it as it passed through heated spaces, and directed it through the rooms in patterns that supported rather than disrupted the bathing experience. The transition from the intense heat of the caldarium to the cool refreshment of the frigidarium required architectural solutions that were both functional and psychologically satisfying. Intermediate spaces, sometimes called the destrictarium, provided areas where bathers could pause and adjust gradually, scraping oil from their skin with strigils and preparing for the final, invigorating plunge into cold water. The frigidarium itself was often the most dramatically beautiful space in the entire complex. Here, architects could indulge in more decorative elements, creating rooms that felt like underwater grottos or classical temples. Cold water pools were frequently surrounded by columns and decorated with statues, creating environments that were both refreshing and inspiring. The cold water served not only as a physical climax to the bathing sequence, but as a symbolic rebirth, a return to clarity and energy after the dissolving warmth of the hot pools. Throughout the complex, the movement of water was as important as the spaces that contained it. Architects designed systems that kept water in constant, gentle motion, creating the sounds and visual effects that were so crucial to the bathhouse atmosphere. Fountains bubbled quietly in corners, streams flowed through channels carved into floors, and waterfalls cascaded from hidden sources, filling the air with the sound of moving water and creating the negative ions that modern science tells us contribute to feelings of well-being. The hypocaust system that heated Roman baths represented one of the most sophisticated applications of radiant heating ever devised. Hot air from furnaces was channeled through hollow spaces beneath floors and within walls, creating even gentle warmth that penetrated slowly into the body. The system was designed to be virtually silent in operation, maintaining the peaceful atmosphere that was so crucial to the bathhouse experience. Maintenance access was built into the architecture from the beginning, with service corridors and chambers that allowed workers to tend the furnaces and clean the water systems without disturbing bathers. These utilitarian spaces were often beautifully finished in their own right, reflecting the Roman belief that even purely functional areas should be pleasing to those who worked in them. Gardens and outdoor spaces were integrated into bathhouse design whenever possible, providing areas where bathers could experience the transition between indoor and outdoor environments. These gardens were typically planted with herbs and flowers chosen for their pleasant scents and their associations with health and relaxation. The sound of wind in leaves and the sight of growing plants provided a connection to the natural world that enhanced the restorative effects of the bathing experience. As we consider the architectural achievement of the Roman bathhouse, we begin to understand that these were not merely buildings but instruments for transformation, carefully tuned to produce specific effects on the human body and spirit. Every element, from the grandest vaulted ceiling to the smallest decorative detail, contributed to an overall experience designed to lift visitors out of their daily concerns and into a state of profound relaxation and renewal. In the quiet depths beneath the marble floors of Roman bathhouses, an invisible network of channels and chambers created the gentle warmth that transformed cold stone into a sanctuary of comfort. The hypocaust system, whose very name derives from the Greek words meaning fire beneath, represented one of humanity's most elegant solutions to the challenge of creating sustained, even heat. Yet for all its technical sophistication, the hypocaust was designed not to announce itself with noise or drama, but to provide its gift of warmth as silently and seamlessly as sunshine warming a garden wall. To understand the genius of the hypocaust, we must first imagine the challenge faced by Roman engineers. They needed to heat vast spaces to precise temperatures, maintain those temperatures consistently throughout the day, and do so without filling the air with smoke or creating the uncomfortable drafts that plague so many heating systems. The solution they developed was radiant heating on a scale never before attempted, a system that warmed bodies from the ground up while keeping the air itself clean and breathable. The heart of every hypocaust system was the furnace room, or prefurnium, typically located in a basement or semi-underground chamber adjacent to the bathhouse proper. These spaces were carefully designed to house the wood-burning furnaces that would provide heat for the entire complex. The architecture of the prefurnium reflected the same attention to detail found throughout the rest of the bathhouse, with vaulted ceilings that could withstand the weight of the floors above and carefully planned access routes that would allow workers to tend the fires without disrupting the peaceful atmosphere of the baths. The furnaces themselves were marvels of engineering efficiency, designed to burn wood at high temperatures while directing the maximum amount of heat into the hypocaust system. The fireboxes were lined with fire-resistant materials that could withstand repeated heating and cooling cycles, while the combustion chambers were shaped to promote complete burning of fuel and minimize waste. Airflow was carefully controlled through a system of vents and dampers that allowed furnace operators to fine-tune the intensity and distribution of heat throughout the complex. From the furnaces, hot air and combustion gases flowed through a network of channels that ran beneath the raised floors of the bathhouse. This suspended floor system, supported by small brick or stone pillars called pilae, created a continuous space through which heated air could circulate freely. The pilae themselves were engineering marvels in miniature, designed to support tremendous weight while providing minimal obstruction to airflow. They were typically arranged in regular grids, creating a forest of small columns that turned the space beneath the floors into a vast, low-ceiling chamber where hot air could move and mix freely. The raised floors above this heating chamber were constructed with multiple layers, each serving a specific purpose in the heat transfer process. The bottom layer, resting directly on the piley, was typically made of large tiles or stone slabs that could conduct and store heat efficiently. Above this came a layer of concrete or mortar that helped distribute the heat evenly and provided a stable base for the decorative floors above. Finally, the surface layer consisted of marble, mosaic, or other beautiful materials that bathers would actually walk on. This layered construction created a thermal mass that stored heat from the hypocaust system and released it slowly and evenly throughout the day. The thick floors acted like giant storage heaters, absorbing heat when the furnaces were running and continuing to radiate warmth long after the fires had died down. This thermal storage capability allowed bathhouse operators to maintain comfortable temperatures with relatively infrequent firing of the furnaces, making the system both economical and pleasant to use. The genius of radiant floor heating lay in its ability to warm the human body from the ground up, creating a sensation of comfort that was both immediate and lasting. Unlike systems that heat air and rely on convection to warm bodies, radiant heating works through direct thermal radiation, warming skin and muscle tissue directly. This creates a deep, penetrating warmth that is particularly soothing to tired muscles and joints, making it perfect for the therapeutic goals of Roman bathing. But the hypocaust system extended beyond floor heating to encompass the walls as well. In the hottest rooms of the bathhouse, particularly the caldarium, hollow tiles called tubuli were built into the walls to create vertical channels through which heated air could rise. These wall cavities were connected to the floor chambers below, allowing hot air to flow upward and warm the entire surface of the room's walls. This wall heating was crucial in the hottest rooms, where the thermal demands were greatest and where bathers expected to find truly enveloping warmth. The tubuli system required careful engineering to ensure proper airflow while maintaining structural integrity. The hollow tiles were designed with internal channels and connection points that allowed heated air to move freely while supporting the weight of the wall construction above them. The tiles themselves were often decorated on their exterior surfaces, becoming both functional and aesthetic elements of the bathhouse design. Temperature control throughout the hypocaust system was achieved through a combination of furnace management and airflow regulation. Different areas of the bathhouse required different temperatures, from the relatively cool tepidarium to the intensely heated caldarium. This was accomplished by varying the density of piley in different areas, adjusting the size and number of air channels, and using dampers and vents to direct more or less heated air to specific zones. The caldarium, being the hottest room in the sequence, was typically positioned closest to the furnaces and received the most direct flow of heated air. The piley here were often spaced more closely together to provide better heat transfer, and the floor construction was designed to handle higher temperatures without damage. Additional heating was sometimes provided by braziers or other supplementary heat sources, but the hypocaust system provided the base level of heat that made these rooms habitable. The tepidarium, requiring more moderate temperatures, was typically positioned further from the furnaces or connected to the hypocaust system through longer, more circuitous air channels that allowed the heated air to cool somewhat before entering the floor chambers. The thermal mass of the floors and walls in these rooms was carefully calculated to maintain steady, comfortable temperatures throughout the day. Water heating was integrated into the hypocaust system through ingenious arrangements of pipes and tanks that utilized the waste heat from the air circulation system. Hot water for the various pools and fountains was produced by running water through pipes embedded in the hottest parts of the hypocaust system, or through separate boilers heated by the same furnaces that fed the air circulation system. This integration of air and water heating made the overall system remarkably efficient for its time. The maintenance of hypocaust systems required specialized knowledge and constant attention. Furnace operators, known as vocari, were skilled workers who understood the behavior of the system and could adjust firing schedules and airflow patterns to maintain optimal conditions throughout the complex. These workers operated on carefully planned schedules, often lighting furnaces in the early morning hours, so that the thermal mass of the floors would be properly heated by the time the first bathers arrived. Cleaning and maintenance of the hypocaust chambers was a periodic necessity, as combustion products and debris could accumulate in the air channels over time. Access points were built into the system to allow workers to enter the floor chambers and wall cavities for cleaning and repair. This maintenance work was typically done during periods when the baths were closed, preserving the peaceful atmosphere that bathers expected. The fuel requirements for hypocaust systems were substantial, and bathhouse operators had to maintain steady supplies of wood or other combustible materials. The choice of fuel could affect both the efficiency of the system and the quality of the indoor environment, as different woods burned at different temperatures and produced different amounts of smoke and ash. The best fuel was well-seasoned hardwood that burned hot and clean, producing maximum heat with minimal combustion products. Ventilation was crucial to the proper operation of hypocaust systems, both for safety reasons and to maintain air quality in the bathhouses. Sophisticated systems of vents and chimneys removed combustion products from the furnace areas while allowing fresh air to enter the heating chambers. This ventilation had to be carefully balanced to maintain proper airflow through the hypocaust system while preventing uncomfortable drafts in the bathing areas. The environmental impact of hypocaust systems was considerable, as they required substantial amounts of wood fuel and produced significant quantities of combustion products. Roman engineers addressed these concerns by developing increasingly efficient furnace designs and by locating fuel sources strategically to minimize transportation costs and environmental damage. Some bathhouses were built near forests specifically managed to provide fuel, while others utilized waste wood from construction projects or other industrial activities. As we contemplate the hypocaust system, we begin to appreciate the sophistication of Roman engineering and the deep understanding of human comfort that guided their technical innovations. These were not crude heating systems, but carefully designed instruments for creating specific environmental conditions, tuned to support the physical and psychological goals of the bathing experience. The warmth that rose from hypocaust heated floors carried with it centuries of accumulated knowledge about human nature and the healing power of gentle, sustained heat. Before the waters could work their ancient magic, before the warmth could penetrate tired muscles and weary spirits, there came a ritual of transition as old as bathing itself. The process of undressing in the Roman bathhouse was far more than a practical necessity. It was a ceremony of transformation, a deliberate shedding of not only clothing but of the roles and responsibilities that define daily life beyond these walls of marble and steam. The tepidarium, the changing room of the Roman bath, was designed as a space of gradual revelation and quiet contemplation. Here, beneath painted ceilings that depicted scenes of eternal spring or geometric patterns that pleased without demanding attention, Romans performed the daily miracle of returning to their most essential selves. The architecture itself encouraged this transformation, with soft curves that echoed the human form and lighting that flattered without revealing too much too quickly. Upon entering the tepidarium, bathers would first pause, allowing their eyes to adjust to the dimmer light and their bodies to feel the different temperature and humidity of the interior space. This pause was not accidental, but was built into the rhythm of the bathing experience. Roman bath designers understood that the human body and mind needed time to transition between different states, and the brief moment of stillness at the threshold served as a natural point of separation between the outside world and the sanctuary within. The benches that line the walls of the tepidarium were positioned with careful attention to both comfort and privacy. Made typically of wood, they were sized and shaped to accommodate the natural positions of the human body at rest. The wood itself was chosen not only for its durability, but for its warmth to the touch of first gentle caress that began the process of physical comfort that would continue throughout the bathing experience. These benches were once smoothed like countless bodies, their surfaces polished to a soft sheen that felt pleasant against their skin. The act of removing clothing in the tepidarium followed its own quiet protocol, developed over generations of practice and refined by Roman attention to social harmony. Bathers typically began by removing their outer garments, the toga for men of status, or simpler tunics for those of more modest means. These outer layers, which proclaimed rank and profession to the world, were the first to be set aside, symbolically beginning the process of social equalization that was central to bathhouse culture. Personal belongings were stored in the small alcoves and niches that were built into the walls of the changing room. These storage spaces were designed as integral parts of the architecture, carved from the same stone as the walls and finished with the same care as any decorative element. The Romans understood that even the most functional aspects of the bathhouse should contribute to its overall atmosphere of beauty and order. Jewelry, purses, and other valuable items were placed in these niches with the same reverence that one might show when placing offerings in a temple. The removal of undergarments marked a deeper stage in the transformation process. The subligaculum, a kind of loincloth worn by men, and the strophium and subligar worn by women, were the final barriers between the clothed, social self and the naked, essential human being. Their removal was performed with dignity and discretion, following unwritten codes of behavior that preserved modesty while acknowledging the natural human form. Nudity in the Roman bathhouse was understood differently than it might be in our modern context. It was not sexualized or provocative, but was seen as a return to a natural state, a shedding of artificial distinctions in favor of the common humanity that united all people. The nakedness of the bathhouse was innocent in the truest sense. It represented a stripping away of pretense and a return to the simple, physical reality of being human. The oils that would be applied to the skin before bathing were often brought by the bathers themselves, carried in small containers called unguentaria. These vessels, made of glass, ceramic, or metal, were works of art in their own right, decorated with patterns and designs that reflected their owner's tastes and means. The oils they contained were blended according to personal preference and need, some scented with flowers for their pleasant fragrance, others infused with herbs for their supposed medicinal properties. The application of oil to the skin was a ritual that could be performed alone or with the assistance of others, and both approaches had their place in Roman bath culture. Those who chose to oil themselves did so with methodical care, beginning with the extremities and working inward toward the heart of the body. This self-massage was a form of meditation, a quiet communion between mind and flesh that prepared both for the experiences to come. More commonly, especially among those of higher social status, the oiling process was performed by slaves or attendants who had been trained in the proper techniques. These body servants, known as capsari, were skilled in the art of massage and the preparation of skin for bathing. Their touch was professional and therapeutic, designed to relax muscles, stimulate circulation, and prepare the skin to receive the benefits of warm water and steam. The oils used in Roman baths were far more sophisticated than simple olive oil, though that remained the base for most preparations. Almond oil was prized for its lightness and skin conditioning properties, while various aromatic oils were added for their scents and their supposed therapeutic effects. Rose oil was believed to beautify the skin and lift the spirits, while pine oil was thought to have antiseptic properties and to clear the mind. The blending of oils was considered an art form, with master perfumers creating complex compositions that would unfold in different stages as they were warmed by body heat and water. These oil preparations were often seasonal, with lighter, more floral scents preferred in summer, and richer, more resinous blends chosen for winter months. The application of oil was thus not only a preparation for bathing, but a way of harmonizing the body with the natural rhythms of the year. Strigils, the curved metal tools used to scrape oil and impurities from the skin, were personal items of some importance. Made of bronze, silver, or even gold for the wealthy, these implements were often decorated with engravings and were considered valuable possessions. The strigil was designed to fit comfortably in the hand while conforming to the curves of the human body, allowing for efficient removal of oil and its skin without causing discomfort or irritation. The use of the strigil required skill and practice, and many Romans employed personal attendants who had mastered the proper techniques. The scraping motion had to be firm enough to remove impurities but gentle enough to avoid damaging the skin. The strigil was typically used in long, smooth strokes, following the natural lines of the body and paying particular attention to areas where oil and sweat tended to accumulate. For those who could not afford personal attendants, the communal nature of the bathhouse provided opportunities for mutual assistance. Friends, family members, or even strangers might help each other with the more difficult aspects of preparation, creating bonds of intimacy and mutual care that strengthened the social fabric of Roman society. These interactions were governed by understood protocols of courtesy and respect, ensuring that even the most personal aspects of bathhouse preparation remained dignified and appropriate. The preparation ritual also included attention to the hair, which was often oiled and arranged in styles appropriate for the bathhouse environment. Women might braid their hair to keep it out of the water, while men often applied oil to their scalps and beards. Hair care in the Roman bath was seen as part of overall bodily maintenance, and the oils and techniques used were chosen to promote health and cleanliness as well as beauty. Mental preparation was as important as physical preparation in the Roman bathing ritual, as they performed the familiar actions of undressing and oiling their bodies. Bathers also prepared their minds for the experience ahead. This might involve conscious relaxation techniques, meditation on pleasant thoughts, or simply the gradual release of the day's tensions and concerns. The repetitive nature of the preparation ritual served to focus attention on the present moment and away from external worries. The social aspect of preparation created opportunities for conversation and relationship building that were valued parts of the bathhouse experience. Friends might discuss the events of the day while helping each other with oil application, or new acquaintances might be made through the natural interactions that arose during the preparation process. These conversations were typically quiet and unhurried, matching the peaceful pace of the preparation ritual. The transition from preparation to actual bathing was marked by a final moment of readiness, a sense of having properly prepared both body and mind for the experiences ahead. This moment of transition was often accompanied by a brief pause, a taking of breath, and a conscious decision to move forward into the heart of the bathhouse experience. With bodies oiled and spirits prepared, bathers would then begin the journey through the various chambers and pools that awaited them. As we observe these ancient preparation rituals, we begin to understand that the Roman bathhouse was designed as a complete experience, beginning not with the first touch of water, but with the first step across the threshold of the changing room. Every aspect of preparation contributed to the overall effect, creating a sense of ritual and ceremony that elevated the simple act of bathing into something approaching the sacred. In the measured progression through the Roman bathhouse, the tepidarium occupied a special place of gentle transition, a warm harbour where the body could gradually adjust to the thermal journey ahead. Neither too hot nor too cold, this chamber existed in a perfect state of balance, its very name derived from the Latin tepidus, meaning lukewarm. Here, in this space of measured warmth, Romans learned the art of patience, allowing their bodies to slowly open like flowers to the sun, preparing for the more intense experiences that awaited deeper within the complex. The architecture of the tepidarium spoke to its role as a place of gradual revelation. The ceilings were often lower than those in the grander chambers, creating a sense of intimacy and protection that encouraged lingering. The walls, heated by the gentle circulation of warm air through the hypocaust system, radiated a comfortable heat that seemed to embrace visitors without overwhelming them. The temperature was carefully maintained at a level that felt pleasant to skin, still adjusting from the cooler air of the changing rooms warm enough to relax, but not so hot as to cause discomfort or perspiration. The pools in the tepidarium were shallow, designed more for sitting than for swimming, their depths calculated to allow comfortable immersion up to the chest while maintaining easy conversation with other bathers. The water temperature matched that of the air, creating a seamless thermal environment where the distinction between water and atmosphere seemed to dissolve. The pool edges were wide and smooth, worn to a comfortable roundness by countless bodies that had rested against them over the years. Water entered the tepidarium pools through carefully designed inlets that created the gentlest of currents. These flows were engineered not for dramatic effect, but for subtle movement that kept the water fresh without creating disturbance. The slight motion of the water against skin provided a form of gentle massage, a continuous caress that helped muscles begin to relax and tension to ebb away. The sound of this moving water was barely perceptible, a whisper that added to rather than competed with the quiet conversations that were an integral part of the tepidarium experience. The lighting in the tepidarium was designed to flatter and soothe. Windows were positioned to capture the soft, indirect light of late morning and early afternoon, when the sun's rays were warm but not harsh. These openings were often fitted with translucent materials that diffused the light further, creating a gentle glow that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. In the evening hours, oil lamps provided illumination, their flickering flames reflected in the still surface of the pools and casting dancing shadows that added to the room's sense of peaceful movement. Seating areas within the tepidarium were arranged to encourage both solitude and companionship. Stone benches, their surfaces warmed by the hypocaust system, were positioned at intervals around the pools, some in quiet corners for those who preferred contemplation, others in more open areas where small groups could gather naturally. These benches were carved with subtle decorations, simple geometric patterns, or stylized plant motifs that pleased the eye without demanding attention. The social dynamics of the tepidarium were unique within the bathhouse complex. This was where the rigid hierarchies of Roman society began to soften, where senators might find themselves in quiet conversation with merchants, or where matrons could share the gentle warmth with freedwomen. The equalizing effect of warm water and comfortable nudity created opportunities for interactions that would be impossible in the formal settings of daily Roman life. Yet these interactions maintained their own codes of courtesy and respect, governed by the understanding that the bathhouse was a refuge from the competitive nature of the outside world. Conversation in the tepidarium followed its own rhythm, matching the relaxed pace of the environment. Voices were naturally lowered in these intimate spaces, creating an atmosphere of confidential sharing and gentle discourse. Topics tended toward the philosophical rather than the practical, with discussions of literature, art, and the meaning of life flowing as gently as the warm water that surrounded the speakers. Business matters were generally avoided, not through any formal prohibition, but through the natural inclination to leave such concerns at the threshold of this peaceful sanctuary. The health benefits of the tepidarium were well understood by Roman physicians and bath enthusiasts alike. The gentle heat encouraged circulation without placing stress on the heart, while the warm water helped to cleanse pores and soften skin. The temperature was ideal for the gradual dilation of blood vessels, preparing the body for the more intense heat of the caldarium while avoiding the shock that sudden temperature changes could produce. Modern medical science confirms what the Romans knew intuitively, that gradual warming is far more beneficial to the human body than rapid temperature transitions. Attendants moved quietly through the tepidarium, offering additional services to those who desired them. These included the application of additional oils, gentle massage, or assistance with the strigil for those areas of the body that were difficult to reach alone. The attendants were trained to be unobtrusive, responding to subtle signals from bathers rather than actively soliciting business. Their presence added to the sense of luxury and care that defined the Roman bath experience while respecting the contemplative atmosphere of the space. The decoration of tepidarium walls typically featured subjects that complemented the room's peaceful function. Frescoes might depict pastoral scenes, gardens in eternal bloom, or mythological figures associated with healing and relaxation. The god Asclepius, patron of healing, was a common subject, often shown with his sacred serpent in settings that suggested divine healing taking place in natural springs. These images served not merely as decoration, but as visual meditations that reinforced the therapeutic purpose of the bathing experience. Mosaics on the tepidarium floors often featured marine themes that connected bathers to the element they were immersed in. Dolphins, seahorses, and flowing water patterns were popular motifs, created in subtle color palettes that would not jar the eye but would provide gentle visual interest for those gazing down into the clear water. These underwater scenes seemed to extend the depth of the pools, creating the illusion of bathing in deeper, more mysterious waters than the shallow basins actually provided. The acoustic properties of the tepidarium were carefully considered in its design. The combination of water, stone, and heated air created a unique sound environment that enhanced the sense of being removed from the ordinary world. Voices took on a slightly different quality, softer and more intimate than they might sound in dry air. The gentle splash of water against pool edges provided a rhythmic backdrop that helped to slow breathing and heart rate, contributing to the overall relaxation response that was the goal of the entire bathing sequence. Time moved differently in the tepidarium, without the urgency of business or the demands of household management. Bathers could allow themselves to exist purely in the present moment. The warm water seemed to dissolve not only physical tension but temporal anxiety, creating a space where the past and future receded in importance compared to the immediate experience of warmth, comfort, and gentle human companionship. This altered relationship with time was one of the most valuable gifts the Roman bath could offer to lives otherwise dominated by duty and schedule. The gradual warming that took place in the tepidarium prepared not only the body, but the mind for the more intense experiences ahead. As muscles relaxed and circulation increased, bathers often reported a corresponding relaxation of mental tension. Worries that had seemed urgent outside the bathhouse began to feel less pressing, while solutions to problems that had seemed intractable often presented themselves during the quiet contemplation that the tepidarium encouraged. Groups of friends often chose to spend extended periods in the tepidarium, using the comfortable environment as a setting for the kind of deep conversation that busy daily life seldom allowed. These gatherings were informal and unhurried, with participants free to enter and leave the discussions as they felt moved to do so. The warm water and peaceful setting seemed to encourage honesty and openness, leading to friendships that were strengthened by these shared moments of vulnerability and relaxation. For solitary bathers, the tepidarium offered opportunities for meditation and self-reflection that were rare in the busy world outside. The gentle heat and the rhythmic sound of moving water created ideal conditions for the kind of introspection that the Romans valued as essential to a well-lived life. Many philosophical insights and creative inspirations were born in these warm, quiet spaces, where the mind was freed from external distractions and could turn inward to explore its own depths. The transition from tepidarium to caldarium was one that required both physical and mental preparation. As bathers felt their bodies fully warmed and relaxed, they would begin to prepare for the more intense heat ahead. This preparation often took the form of deeper breathing exercises, conscious relaxation of any remaining muscle tension, and mental readiness for the transformative experience of the hot room. The tepidarium thus served not only as a destination in itself, but as a crucial preparation space for the climactic heat experience that awaited. Seasonal variations in the tepidarium experience added another layer of richness to the bathing ritual. In winter, when the contrast with outside temperatures was greatest, the tepidarium felt like a refuge from the harsh world beyond its walls. The warm water seemed even more welcoming, and the heated floors provided relief for feet that might be cold from walking through snow or rain. In summer, the tepidarium offered a more moderate alternative to the intense heat of the caldarium, allowing bathers to enjoy warmth without the overwhelming sensation that might be less welcome in hot weather. The role of the tepidarium in the overall bathing sequence cannot be overstated. It served as both preparation and destination, a space that was valuable in its own right, while also serving the crucial function of gradual thermal adaptation. The wisdom of this approach, allowing the body to adjust slowly, rather than shocking it with sudden temperature changes, reflects a deep understanding of human physiology that modern spa design still strives to emulate. As bathers prepared to leave the gentle embrace of the tepidarium for the more intense experiences ahead, they carried with them not only bodies prepared for heat, but minds attuned to the rhythm of relaxation and restoration that would guide them through the remaining chambers of their thermal journey. At the blazing heart of every Roman bathhouse lay the caldarium, a chamber so suffused with heat that entering it felt like stepping into the embrace of a benevolent fire god. Here, in this sacred space of transformative warmth, the Roman bathing experience reached its thermal crescendo. The very air shimmered with intensity. Yet this was not the harsh, punishing heat of desert sun or forge fire, but rather a penetrating, healing warmth that seemed to reach into the very marrow of tired bones and weary souls. The approach to the caldarium was designed as a gradual revelation of increasing heat. Even before crossing the threshold, bathers could feel the temperature rising, their skin beginning to respond to the radiant warmth that escaped through doorways and archways. The hypocaust system reached its peak efficiency here, with hot air circulating through not only the floors, but also through hollow tiles within the walls, creating an envelope of warmth that surrounded occupants completely. The architecture of the caldarium reflected its role as the thermal sanctuary of the bath complex. Ceilings were often higher here than in other rooms, allowing hot air to rise and circulate while preventing the oppressive feeling that lower ceilings might create in such heated spaces. The increased height also provided space for elaborate venting systems that removed excess humidity while maintaining the desired temperature, creating an environment that was intensely warm yet breathable. Entering the caldarium for the first time was an experience that remained vivid in memory long after the bathing session had ended. The heat seemed to embrace the body like a living thing, penetrating skin that had been gradually prepared by the warming process of the tepidarium. The sensation was immediate, and enveloping muscles that had begun to relax in the warmer rooms suddenly released their deepest tensions, while pores opened to release the accumulated stress and toxins of daily life. The pools in the caldarium were the crowning achievement of Roman hydraulic engineering, fed by systems that maintained water temperatures at levels that would seem almost impossibly hot to modern sensibilities. These pools required careful management to remain both safe and therapeutic. The water was heated by pipes that ran through the hottest parts of the hypocaust system, or by separate boilers that shared the same furnace systems that heated the air circulation networks. The design of caldarium pools reflected both practical and aesthetic considerations. They were typically deeper than those in the tepidarium, allowing for greater immersion while providing space for the hot water to circulate properly. The edges were carefully shaped to provide comfortable resting places for bodies that might become weak or dizzy from the intense heat. Wide, rounded lips allowed bathers to rest their arms while keeping their heads above water, while submerged benches provided seating for those who prefer to sit rather than float. The social dynamics within the caldarium were unique among the bathhouse chambers. The intense heat created a democratic leveling that went beyond even the equalizing effects of nudity. In the face of such overwhelming physical sensation, social distinctions seemed to evaporate like moisture from heated skin. Senators and slaves, merchants and philosophers, all became simply human beings seeking relief and restoration in the healing power of extreme heat. Conversation in the caldarium took on a different character than in other parts of the bathhouse. The heat seemed to slow speech as it slowed movement, leading to exchanges that were more thoughtful and deliberate. Voices naturally became softer, both from the languid effects of the heat and from consideration for others who might be seeking quiet contemplation. Many bathers found that the caldarium loosened tongues as well as muscles, leading to confessions and revelations that might never have surfaced in cooler, more inhibited environments. The therapeutic effects of caldarium heat were well understood by Roman physicians, who prescribed specific regimens of hot bathing for various ailments. The intense heat was believed to draw harmful humors from the body while promoting the circulation of beneficial ones. Modern medicine confirms many of these ancient insights, recognizing that heat therapy can indeed improve circulation, reduce muscle tension, promote healing, and provide relief from various chronic conditions. Sweating in the caldarium was not merely tolerated but celebrated as a sign that the body was responding properly to the treatment. The Romans understood that perspiration was the body's way of purifying itself, releasing not only water but also waste products and toxins that had accumulated in tissues and organs. The profuse sweating that occurred in the caldarium was seen as evidence of successful purification, a physical manifestation of the spiritual cleansing that was also taking place. The rituals surrounding caldarium use were elaborate and carefully structured. Bathers typically began with brief immersions, allowing their bodies to adjust gradually to the intense heat. These initial contacts with the hot water were often accompanied by gentle movements, slow swimming strokes, or simple stretching exercises that helped distribute the heat evenly throughout the body while preventing the stagnation that could lead to overheating. Attendants played crucial roles in caldarium safety and comfort. These skilled workers, trained to recognize the signs of heat exhaustion or distress, moved quietly through the chamber offering assistance to those who needed it. They provided cool drinks to prevent dehydration, offered support to bathers who might feel faint, and helped with the application of oils that could protect skin from the drying effects of intense heat. The oils used in the caldarium were specially formulated to withstand high temperatures while providing skin protection and aromatherapeutic benefits. These preparations often included ingredients like olive oil as a base, enhanced with essences of herbs and flowers that were believed to have cooling or healing properties. The application of oil in the caldarium was both practical and ritual, performed with the same deliberate care that characterized all aspects of Roman bathing culture. Strigil use reached its peak efficiency in the caldarium, where the combination of heat, moisture, and oil created ideal conditions for the removal of dead skin and impurities. The scraping action of the strigil was particularly satisfying in the hot room, where loosened skin cells and softened oil could be removed easily and completely. This cleansing process was often performed by attendants who had perfected the technique, using long, smooth strokes that followed the natural contours of the body. The sensory experience of the caldarium extended far beyond temperature alone. The air itself felt different, thicker, and more substantial, carrying with it the sense of heated stone, warm water, and the various oils and essences that bathers brought with them. The sound environment was unique as well, with voices seeming to carry differently in the heated air. while the constant gentle movement of hot water created a subtle backdrop of thermal music. Lighting in the caldarium required special consideration due to the high temperatures and humidity levels. Windows were often smaller than in other rooms, designed to admit light while minimizing heat loss and preventing uncomfortable glare that might disturb bathers' relaxation. All lamps were positioned carefully to avoid creating additional heat sources while providing adequate illumination for safety and comfort. The resulting lighting was often dim and mysterious, adding to the otherworldly feeling of the heated chamber. The duration of caldarium sessions was carefully regulated by both custom and medical wisdom. Extended exposure to such intense heat could be dangerous, so experienced bathers learned to read their body's signals and exit the hot room before reaching their limits. The typical caldarium session lasted perhaps 15 to 30 minutes, long enough to achieve the desired therapeutic effects without risking heat-related illness. Breathing techniques developed specifically for caldarium use helped bathers cope with the intense heat while maximizing its benefits. Slow, deep breathing helped prevent hyperventilation that might occur in a heated environment, while also ensuring adequate oxygen supply to muscles and organs working harder in the high-temperature conditions. Some bathers practiced meditation techniques that used breathing as a focus point, turning their caldarium sessions into exercises in mindfulness and self-awareness. The psychological effects of caldarium heat were as important as the physical ones. The intense sensory experience seemed to burn away mental tensions along with physical ones, creating states of consciousness that many described as transcendent or transformative. The heat acted as a kind of crucible for the spirit, melting away the accumulated stress and anxiety of daily life and allowing a purified consciousness to emerge. Groups of friends often challenged each other to endure longer periods in the caldarium, but these competitions were good-natured and never pushed participants beyond safe limits. The shared experience of intense heat created bonds of fellowship and mutual support that strengthened social relationships. Stories and jokes told in the caldarium took on mythic proportions in later retellings, enhanced by the extraordinary circumstances in which they were originally shared. The transition out of the caldarium required as much care as the entry had demanded. Bodies that had become accustomed to extreme heat needed time to readjust to cooler temperatures without experiencing shock or discomfort. Many bathhouses provided intermediate cooling areas where bathers could pause and allow their core temperatures to stabilize gradually before moving on to cooler chambers or pools. Seasonal variations in caldarium use reflected both practical considerations and cultural preferences. In winter, when bodies craved warmth and the outside world was cold and harsh, caldarium sessions often lasted longer and were more frequent. The heated chamber provided not only physical comfort but psychological refuge from the darker aspects of the cold months. Summer use of the caldarium was more moderate, with shorter sessions timed to take advantage of cooler parts of the day. The medical understanding of caldarium effects was surprisingly sophisticated, with Roman physicians recognizing that heat therapy could be beneficial for conditions ranging from arthritis to melancholy. Prescriptions often specified particular temperatures, duration of exposure, and accompanying treatments such as massage or herbal applications. The caldarium was thus not merely a luxury, but a legitimate medical facility, where serious health concerns could be addressed through thermal therapy. Water management in the caldarium represented some of the most advanced engineering of the Roman world. The systems that maintained proper temperature, circulation, and cleanliness operated continuously, requiring constant attention from skilled workers who understood the delicate balance of forces involved. Hot water had to be constantly replenished, overflow had to be managed to prevent flooding, and temperature had to be monitored to ensure safety and effectiveness. The religious and spiritual dimensions of caldarium use were never far from the surface of the bathing experience. The intense heat was often interpreted as a form of purification that went beyond the merely physical, burning away not only bodily impurities but spiritual ones as well. Some bathers approached their caldarium sessions with reverence approaching worship, seeing in the transformative heat a manifestation of divine power working for human healing and renewal. As bathers prepared to leave the caldarium, their bodies glowing with heat and their spirits refreshed by the intense thermal experience, they carried with them the profound sense of transformation that was the ultimate goal of Roman bathing culture. The heat had worked its ancient magic, preparing them for the final stage of their journey through water and temperature, the shocking but invigorating embrace of the cold pools that awaited in the frigidarium. After the enveloping heat of the caldarium, where time seemed to slow and consciousness drifted into dream-like states of warm contentment, came the frigidarium, a chamber dedicated to the ancient shock of cold water and the crystalline clarity it brought to both body and mind. Here, in pools fed by the coolest springs or chilled by ingenious cooling systems, Romans completed their thermal journey with an experience as invigorating as the caldarium had been somnolent. The frigidarium represented the final movement in the symphony of Roman bathing, a dramatic crescendo that brought the entire experience to its climactic conclusion. The very name, derived from the Latin frigidus meaning cold, announced the chamber's purpose without ambiguity. Yet for all its apparent simplicity, the frigidarium was as carefully designed and thoughtfully appointed as any other part of the bath complex, a testament to Roman understanding that the shock of cold water required its own supporting architecture and ritual framework. The approach to the frigidarium was often the most dramatic architectural moment in the entire bath sequence. Doorways were positioned to provide glimpses of the cool chamber beyond, with its promise of crystalline water and refreshing relief. The temperature differential was immediately apparent, with cooler air flowing from the frigidarium into the adjacent heated chambers, creating natural air currents that announced the presence of this thermal sanctuary. The architecture of the frigidarium differed markedly from that of the heated chambers. Here, there was no need for the elaborate hypocaust systems or the careful thermal engineering that characterized the caldarium and tepidarium. Instead, the focus was on creating spaces that felt fresh and invigorating, with higher ceilings that allowed cool air to circulate freely and larger windows that admitted natural light and fresh breezes. The cold pools themselves were engineering marvels of a different sort than their heated counterparts, fed by springs, aqueducts, or sophisticated cooling systems. These pools maintained temperatures that provided the desired shock of cold without being dangerous to bathers whose bodies had been heated to high temperatures in the caldarium. The water was typically in constant motion, flowing through the pools in patterns that kept it fresh and aerated while creating the gentle sounds of moving water that added to the frigidarium's refreshing atmosphere. The sensation of entering frigidarium water after extended time in the caldarium was one of the most intense and memorable experiences the Roman bath had to offer. The cold water struck heated skin like a physical blow, causing an immediate physiological response that was both shocking and exhilarating. Heart rates increased, breathing deepened, and the entire nervous system sparked into heightened awareness as the body struggled to adapt to the sudden temperature change. This cold shock was not merely endured but celebrated as an essential part of the bathing experience. Roman physicians understood that the rapid vasoconstriction caused by cold water helped to seal pores that had been opened by heat, locking in the beneficial effects of the warm baths while providing a natural conclusion to the thermal treatment. The cold water also stimulated circulation, sending blood rushing through vessels that had been dilated by heat and creating a natural pumping action that enhanced the overall therapeutic effect. The frigidarium pools were typically deeper than those in other parts of the bathhouse, designed to allow complete immersion for those brave enough to plunge entirely beneath the cold water surface. The depth also provided space for more vigorous movement, as bathers often found that swimming or walking in the cold water helped their bodies adjust more quickly to the temperature change. The pool floors were usually paved with materials that provided good footing, even when wet, safety being a particular concern in an environment where sudden temperature changes could cause dizziness or disorientation. The social dynamics of the frigidarium were unique among the bathhouse chambers. The shock of cold water tended to provoke immediate, honest reactions that stripped away social pretense as effectively as the temperature stripped away the languid contentment of the heated chambers. Gasps, exclamations, and involuntary shouts of surprise were common and accepted, creating an atmosphere of shared vulnerability and common humanity that transcended normal social boundaries. Conversations in the frigidarium were necessarily brief and energetic. The cold water made prolonged discussions impractical, leading instead to quick exchanges of encouragement, challenge, or congratulation. These brief interactions often carried more emotional weight than longer conversations in other parts of the bathhouse, as they were compressed into moments of intense shared experience that created lasting bonds between participants. The ritual of frigidarium entry varied according to personal preference and courage. Some bathers preferred the gradual approach, slowly entering the cold water and allowing their bodies to adjust incrementally to the temperature change. Others favored the dramatic plunge, diving or jumping directly into the deepest part of the pool to experience the full shock all at once. Both approaches had their advocates and their own associated rituals and traditions. Breathing techniques for cold water immersion were well understood by experienced bathers. The initial shock of cold water could cause involuntary gasping or hyperventilation, so practiced frigidarium users learned to control their breathing deliberately, taking deep, measured breaths that helped their bodies adapt more quickly to the temperature change. This conscious breathing practice often became a form of meditation, turning the cold shock into an opportunity for mental discipline and self-control. The therapeutic benefits of cold water immersion were recognized by Roman physicians and incorporated into medical treatments for various conditions. Cold water was believed to strengthen the constitution, improve resistance to disease, and provide relief from certain ailments that were thought to be caused by excess heat in the body. Modern medicine has validated many of these ancient insights, recognizing cold water therapy as beneficial for circulation, immune system function, and mental health. The duration of frigidarium sessions was necessarily brief compared to time spent in the heated chambers. Most bathers remained in the cold water for only a few minutes, long enough to experience the desired shock and adaptation, but not so long as to risk hypothermia or other cold-related problems. The timing was often intuitive, with experienced bathers learning to recognize when their bodies had achieved the desired response and it was time to exit the cold water. Attendants in the frigidarium served different functions than those in the heated chambers. Here, their primary concerns were safety and encouragement. They watched for signs of distress or difficulty adapting to the cold water, provided warm towels and robes for bathers exiting the pools, and offered encouragement to those who were hesitant to take the plunge. Their presence provided reassurance and professional oversight that made the cold shock safer and more enjoyable. The decoration of frigidarium walls and pools often featured motifs that reinforced the refreshing character of the space. Mosaics might depict scenes of mountain streams, ocean waves, or mythological figures associated with fresh water and renewal. The colors used were typically cooler than those found in heated chambers: blues, whites, and silvers that visually reinforced the thermal character of the space while creating environments that felt fresh and invigorating. Lighting in the frigidarium was designed to enhance the sense of clarity and awakening that cold water provided. Windows were often larger and positioned to admit bright, clear light that contrasted with the dimmer, more intimate lighting of the heated chambers. This brighter illumination helped bathers see clearly in the cold water while reinforcing the psychological association between cold water and mental clarity. The sounds of the frigidarium differed markedly from those in other parts of the bathhouse. The splash of cold water had a sharper, more percussive quality than the gentle lapping of warm pools. Voices carried differently in the cooler air, seeming clearer and more immediate. The overall acoustic environment was more energetic and alert, matching the physiological state that cold water produced in its users. Seasonal variations in frigidarium use reflected both practical considerations and cultural preferences. Summer frigidarium sessions were often longer and more popular, providing welcome relief from hot weather and complementing the cooling effect of the cold water. Winter use required more courage, but was considered more beneficial by some, as the contrast between cold water and cold air was thought to provide superior strengthening effects. The psychological effects of frigidarium use were as important as the physical ones. The cold shock seemed to wash away mental fog and confusion along with physical heat, leaving bathers with a sense of mental clarity and emotional freshness that many found addictive. The experience of conquering the fear and discomfort of cold water also provided psychological benefits, building confidence and resilience that extended beyond the bathhouse walls. Group activities in the frigidarium often took the form of mutual encouragement and challenge. Friends might dare each other to longer immersions or more dramatic entries, creating games and competitions that added social enjoyment to the cold water experience. These group dynamics helped individuals overcome their natural hesitation about cold water while building camaraderie through shared challenges. The medical understanding of frigidarium effects included recognition that cold water could be dangerous for certain individuals, particularly those with heart conditions or circulation problems. Roman physicians developed guidelines for frigidarium use that took into account individual health status, age, and physical condition. These precautions demonstrate the sophisticated understanding of cold water therapy that Roman medical practice had achieved. Water quality in the frigidarium received special attention, as cold water was less forgiving of impurities than heated water. The constant circulation systems were designed to maintain the highest standards of cleanliness, with filtration and replacement systems that ensured the cold pools remained fresh and pure. The engineering challenges of maintaining cold water quality were considerable, requiring constant attention and sophisticated understanding of hydraulic principles. The religious and spiritual dimensions of frigidarium use were often interpreted in terms of purification and rebirth. The cold shock was seen as a form of baptism that washed away not only physical impurities but spiritual ones as well. Some bathers approached their frigidarium sessions with reverence, seeing in the cold water a connection to the primal forces of nature that could renew and restore the human spirit. Exit from the frigidarium marked not the end of the bathing experience, but its culmination and transformation into something new. Bathers emerged from the cold water with bodies tingling, minds clear, and spirits refreshed by the complete journey through heat and cold. The contrast they had experienced from the gradual warming of the tepidarium through the intense heat of the caldarium to the shocking cold of the frigidarium created a sense of completion and renewal that was the ultimate goal of Roman bathing culture. The frigidarium thus served as both destination and gateway, completing the thermal journey while preparing bathers for their return to the world beyond the bathhouse walls. The clarity and energy provided by cold water immersion helped ensure that the benefits of the entire bathing experience would extend into daily life, carrying the peace and restoration of the bathhouse into the challenges and opportunities that awaited outside. Within the marble halls of Roman bathhouses, beyond the pools of varying temperatures, and the chambers of soothing steam, lay chambers dedicated to one of humanity's oldest healing arts, the therapeutic touch of skilled hands upon willing flesh. Here, in rooms specifically designed for the practice of massage and body care, Romans elevated simple touch into a refined art form that addressed not only the physical body, but the spirit that animated it. The Romans inherited their massage traditions from the Greeks, who had long incorporated therapeutic touch into their athletic and medical practices. But Roman innovation and their characteristic attention to comfort and luxury transformed massage into something uniquely their own. Where Greek massage had been primarily concerned with preparing athletes for competition or treating injuries, Roman massage became a comprehensive system of body care that served medical, cosmetic, and spiritual purposes. The massage chambers of Roman bathhouses were architectural sanctuaries designed specifically to enhance the therapeutic effects of skilled touch. These rooms were typically smaller and more intimate than the great bathing halls, their proportions calculated to create a sense of privacy and protection that encouraged complete relaxation. The floors were heated by the same hypocaust systems that warmed the rest of the complex, but at more moderate temperatures that provided comfort without the intensity of the caldarium. The lighting in massage chambers was carefully controlled to create an atmosphere of peaceful intimacy. Windows were positioned to provide gentle, indirect illumination during daylight hours, while evening sessions were conducted by the warm glow of oil lamps placed in strategic locations. The flickering light of these lamps cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating a visual rhythm that complemented the physical rhythms of therapeutic touch. The massage tables and couches used in Roman baths were works of functional art, designed with the same attention to beauty and comfort that characterized all aspects of bathhouse architecture. These were typically made of stone or marble, their surfaces warmed by the hypocaust system and covered with soft fabrics or leather padding. The dimensions were carefully calculated to accommodate bodies of various sizes while providing masseurs with optimal access to their clients. Some tables were adjustable in height or angle, allowing for different massage techniques and client comfort levels. The oils and unguents used in Roman massage represented a sophisticated understanding of aromatherapy and dermatology that would not be matched again until modern times. Base oils such as olive, almond, or sesame were blended with essences derived from flowers, herbs, and exotic spices to create preparations tailored to specific therapeutic goals. Rose oil was prized for its supposed beautifying properties and pleasant scent, while pine oil was used for its antiseptic qualities and invigorating aroma. The preparation of massage oils was itself a refined art, with master perfumers creating complex blends that changed character as they were warmed by body heat and worked into the skin by skilled hands. These preparations were often seasonal, with lighter, more floral scents preferred in warm weather and richer, more resinous blends chosen for colder months. The oils were stored in beautiful containers, glass amphorae decorated with painted scenes, bronze vessels engraved with delicate patterns, or ceramic pots glazed in colors that pleased the eye. The masseurs and masseuses who worked in Roman baths were skilled professionals who had undergone extensive training in the techniques of therapeutic touch. Many were slaves who had been specifically purchased for their aptitude in massage and then trained by master practitioners, while others were freedmen or women who had established independent practices. The best massage therapists were highly valued and commanded substantial fees for their services. The techniques employed by Roman masseurs were remarkably sophisticated, incorporating elements that modern massage therapy has rediscovered and validated. These included flourished long, flowing strokes that promoted circulation and relaxation, petrissage kneading motions that worked deeply into muscle tissue, and friction-focused pressure that could release specific tension points and adhesions. The masseurs also used techniques that involved joint mobilization and stretching, helping to maintain flexibility and range of motion. The massage session typically began with the application of warmed oil to the client's skin, performed with ritual care that marked the transition from ordinary touch to therapeutic contact. The masseur would begin with gentle, exploratory strokes that allowed both practitioner and client to assess the body's condition and needs. These initial contacts served to establish trust and communication between masseur and client while beginning the process of muscle relaxation and tension release. The progression of a Roman massage followed patterns that had been refined over generations of practice, beginning with broad, general strokes that prepared the entire body for treatment. The masseur would gradually focus attention on specific areas of tension or discomfort. The sequence typically moved from the extremities toward the heart, following the natural patterns of circulation and lymphatic flow that modern massage therapy recognizes as optimal for therapeutic effect. Pressure was applied with careful attention to the client's responses and comfort level. Roman masseurs were trained to read the subtle signs of tension, relaxation, and discomfort that bodies displayed during treatment, adjusting their techniques accordingly. This sensitivity to client needs was considered essential to effective massage, as treatments that caused pain or anxiety were understood to be counterproductive to the goals of relaxation and healing. The integration of massage with the thermal experiences of the bathhouse created synergistic effects that enhanced both treatments. Bodies that had been warmed by hot water and steam were more receptive to massage, with muscles that were already relaxed and circulation that was enhanced by heat. Similarly, massage before or after bathing could intensify the therapeutic effects of water therapy, creating treatment combinations that were more effective than either modality alone. Different types of massage were available to suit various needs and preferences. Athletic massage, derived from Greek gymnasium practices, was designed to prepare muscles for physical activity or to aid recovery after exertion. Medical massage addressed specific health concerns, with techniques tailored to treat ailments ranging from arthritis to digestive problems. Cosmetic massage focused on skincare and beauty enhancement, using specialized techniques and preparations designed to improve complexion and reduce signs of aging. The social aspects of Roman massage culture reflected the broader values of Roman society while creating unique opportunities for intimacy and care that transcended normal social boundaries. Wealthy Romans often brought their personal massage therapists to the baths, creating small entourages that moved through the complex together. These relationships between clients and their preferred masseurs were often long-term, built on trust, familiarity, and the intimate knowledge that came from regular therapeutic contact. For those who could not afford personal attendance, the communal nature of bathhouse massage created opportunities for social interaction and mutual care. Friends might exchange massages, family members could care for each other, or professional masseurs working in the baths could be hired for individual sessions. These arrangements were governed by understood codes of propriety and respect that ensured all interactions remained appropriate and beneficial. The health benefits of Roman massage were well documented by contemporary physicians and medical writers. Massage was prescribed for a wide range of conditions, from simple muscle tension and fatigue to more serious ailments such as paralysis, arthritis, and circulatory disorders. Roman medical texts described specific massage techniques for different conditions, often combining therapeutic touch with herbal remedies, dietary recommendations, and other treatments. The training of massage therapists in Roman culture was comprehensive and rigorous, covering not only practical techniques, but also anatomy, physiology, and the theoretical foundations of health and healing. Master masseurs were expected to understand the structure and function of the human body, the properties of different oils and preparations, and the psychological aspects of therapeutic touch. This knowledge was passed down through apprenticeship systems that ensured high standards of practice. Specialized massage techniques were developed for different parts of the body, each requiring specific skills and knowledge. Facial massage, for instance, was performed with particular delicacy, using light touches and specialized preparations designed to improve complexion and reduce signs of aging. Foot massage was highly prized for its relaxing effects and its supposed benefits to overall health, based on ideas similar to modern reflexology concepts. The tools used in Roman massage were simple but effective, designed to enhance the capabilities of skilled hands rather than replace them. Bronze or wooden implements might be used to apply pressure to specific points, while various textured surfaces could provide different sensations and therapeutic effects. Stridules, the curved scrapers used to remove oil and dead skin, were also employed in massage contexts, their use requiring considerable skill to avoid discomfort. Temperature control was crucial to the massage experience, with oils and preparations often warmed before application to enhance their therapeutic effects and improve comfort. Special heating systems, sometimes connected to the main hypocaust network, kept massage oils at optimal temperatures throughout the day. The massage tables themselves were warmed by radiant heat from below, ensuring that clients remained comfortable throughout extended treatment sessions. The psychological and spiritual dimensions of Roman massage were as important as the physical benefits. The act of surrendering to therapeutic touch was understood as a form of meditation, a way of quieting the mind while attending to the body's needs. Many clients reported profound states of relaxation and mental clarity during and after massage sessions, describing experiences that bordered on the transcendent. Privacy considerations in massage chambers were carefully balanced with the communal nature of Roman bath culture. While massage was inherently intimate, it was also understood as a normal and healthy activity that need not be hidden or secretive. The architecture of massage areas provided adequate privacy for treatment while maintaining the open, social atmosphere that characterized the rest of the bathhouse complex. The integration of massage with other bathhouse services created comprehensive wellness experiences that addressed multiple aspects of health and beauty. A typical visit might include progression through the various temperature pools, followed by massage with specially chosen oils, then additional treatments such as depilation, manicure, or cosmetic applications. These combined services were often scheduled as complete packages that could occupy an entire afternoon. Seasonal variations in massage practice reflected both practical considerations and cultural preferences. Summer massage often emphasized cooling oils and lighter touches, while winter treatments might use warming preparations and more vigorous techniques. Special seasonal ingredients, fresh flowers in spring, harvest herbs in autumn, were incorporated into massage oils and treatments, connecting the bathhouse experience to the natural rhythms of the year. The medical understanding of massage effects included recognition of contraindications and limitations. Roman physicians knew that certain conditions could be worsened by massage, and that some individuals might not be suitable candidates for particular techniques. This medical sophistication prevented many potential problems and ensured that massage remained a beneficial rather than harmful practice. Quality control in bathhouse massage services was maintained through various means, including the reputation systems that governed all aspects of Roman commerce and the oversight of bathhouse managers who understood that poor service could damage their establishment's reputations. The best massage therapists developed loyal followings and could command premium fees for their services. The economic aspects of massage culture were significant, supporting numerous skilled workers and creating markets for the various oils, preparations, and implements used in practice. This economic activity contributed to the overall prosperity of communities with major bath complexes, creating employment opportunities and stimulating trade in therapeutic and cosmetic products. Cultural variations in massage practice reflected the diverse populations that used Roman baths. Techniques from Greece, Egypt, and other conquered territories were incorporated into Roman practice, creating fusion approaches that combine the best elements of different traditions. This cultural mixing was facilitated by the cosmopolitan nature of bathhouse clientele and the mobility of skilled practitioners throughout the empire. The documentation of massage techniques in Roman medical and literary texts provides valuable insights into ancient healing practices. Writers such as Celsus and Pliny described various massage methods in detail, while literary works often referenced massage as a common and valued practice. These written sources complement archaeological evidence to provide a comprehensive picture of Roman massage culture. Training centers for massage therapists were established in major cities throughout the empire, creating standardized approaches to education while allowing for regional variations and innovations. These schools taught not only practical skills, but also the ethical and professional standards expected of therapeutic practitioners, ensuring that massage remained a respected and beneficial service. The legacy of Roman massage culture extends far beyond the fall of the empire, influencing therapeutic practices throughout the medieval period and providing foundations for modern massage therapy. Many techniques pioneered by Roman practitioners have been rediscovered and validated by contemporary research, confirming the sophistication and effectiveness of ancient approaches to therapeutic touch. As clients emerged from their massage sessions, bodies relaxed and spirits refreshed, they carried with them not only the immediate benefits of skilled therapeutic touch, but also a deeper appreciation for the healing power of human contact. The massage experience completed another layer of the comprehensive restoration that Roman bath culture sought to provide, addressing the profound human need for caring touch along with cleanliness, warmth, and social connection. In the flowing waters of Roman bathhouses, something remarkable occurred that was perhaps as revolutionary as any political reform or military conquest in the empire's long history. Here, within these walls of marble and steam, the rigid hierarchies that defined Roman society began to dissolve like salt in warm water. The bathhouse became a space where the fundamental equality of human bodies created opportunities for social interaction that would have been impossible in any other setting of ancient life. The democratizing effect of communal nudity was immediate and profound. When senators and slaves, merchants and philosophers, patricians and plebeians all shed their clothing together, they also shed many of the visual markers that proclaimed their social status to the world. Without togas to indicate rank, without jewelry to display wealth, without elaborate hairstyles to suggest position, Romans found themselves relating to each other as simply human beings, sharing common needs and experiences. This social leveling was not accidental, but was built into the very architecture and customs of Roman bath culture. The design of bath complexes encouraged mixing between different social groups, with pools and chambers arranged to facilitate natural interaction rather than segregation. While some private bathhouses catered exclusively to wealthy clientele, the great public thermae were designed as spaces where all Romans could meet on relatively equal terms. The conversations that arose in this atmosphere of enforced equality often revealed aspects of personality and character that were hidden in more formal social settings. A wealthy merchant might discover unexpected wisdom in the words of a humble artisan, while a proud aristocrat could find himself laughing at the wit of a freedman. These interactions, impossible in the hierarchical world outside the baths, created bonds of understanding and friendship that could last a lifetime. The sharing of facilities and services created numerous opportunities for Romans of different backgrounds to interact naturally. In the tepidarium, bodies warmed side by side regardless of social status. In the caldarium, the democracy of sweat made everyone equal in their vulnerability to heat. The frigidarium shocked rich and poor alike with its cold embrace, creating moments of shared challenge and mutual encouragement that transcended normal social boundaries. Group activities within the baths fostered a sense of community that extended far beyond the individual bathing experience. Romans might organize informal games in the pools, share stories during long soaks, or simply enjoy the pleasure of good conversation in a setting where pretense was difficult to maintain. These communal experiences created a sense of shared identity among bathhouse regulars, regardless of their differences in wealth, status, or background. The economic aspects of bathhouse democracy were subtle but significant. While entry fees to public baths were kept deliberately low to ensure access for all social classes, the various additional services available within the complex created opportunities for those with more means to spend without creating barriers for those with less. A wealthy Roman might hire personal attendants and purchase expensive oils, while a poorer citizen could still enjoy the basic bathing experience and benefit from the social interactions it provided. Professional relationships often developed within the democratic atmosphere of the baths. Business partnerships might be formed between men who had first met while sharing a warm pool, their initial conversation unconstrained by the formal protocols that governed most commercial interactions. Artists might find patrons, craftsmen might discover clients, and scholars might encounter students, all through the natural social mixing that bath house culture encouraged. The role of women in this democratic space was complex and varied depending on the specific bathhouse and historical period. Some facilities had separate hours for men and women, while others provided separate but equal facilities. In either case, the equalizing effects of communal bathing applied within gender groups, creating opportunities for women of different social backgrounds to interact more freely than they could in most other settings of Roman life. Children and elderly Romans found particular welcome in the democratic atmosphere of the baths. Young people could interact with their elders in informal settings that allowed for the transmission of knowledge and wisdom outside formal educational structures. Elderly Romans, who might be marginalized in the competitive world of business and politics, could find respect and companionship in the gentle environment of the bathhouse, where experience was valued over vigor. The linguistic diversity of the Roman Empire was reflected in bathhouse conversations, where people from different provinces and backgrounds shared the warm waters while sharing their languages, customs, and stories. This cultural mixing created opportunities for education and understanding that contributed to the cosmopolitan character of Roman civilization. Greek philosophy might be debated by Romans who had learned the language in bathhouse conversations, while provincial customs could be shared with curious city dwellers. Religious diversity was also accommodated within the tolerant atmosphere of the baths. Romans of different religious backgrounds could share facilities peacefully, their common humanity emphasized by their shared nudity and common need for cleansing. The bathhouse thus became a space where religious differences were minimized in favor of shared human experience, contributing to the generally tolerant character of Roman religious practice. The health democracy of the baths was perhaps most significant of all. Regardless of social status, all bathers had access to the therapeutic benefits of warm water, steam, and the various treatments available within the complex. This meant that the health-giving properties of bathing were not restricted to the wealthy, but were available to all Romans who could afford the modest entry fees. The public health benefits of this accessibility were substantial and contributed to the overall well-being of Roman urban populations. Conflict resolution sometimes occurred naturally within the peaceful atmosphere of the baths, where the equalizing effects of warm water and communal nudity made it difficult to maintain the aggressive postures that might characterize disputes in other settings. Business disagreements, family quarrels, and neighborhood disputes could often be resolved through conversations that began casually during bathing sessions and continued until mutual understanding was reached. The educational opportunities provided by bathhouse democracy were substantial and often overlooked by modern observers. Young Romans could learn from their elders, provincials could be educated about city customs, and individuals from different trades and professions could share knowledge that might never have been exchanged in more formal settings. This informal education system contributed significantly to the spread of knowledge and skills throughout Roman society. Philanthropic relationships often developed within the democratic atmosphere of the baths, where wealthy Romans could observe firsthand the needs and circumstances of their less fortunate fellow citizens. These personal connections, formed in the intimate setting of shared bathing, could lead to employment opportunities, educational support, or direct financial assistance that might never have been offered through more formal charitable channels. The psychological benefits of this social democracy were profound for individuals who lived most of their lives within rigid hierarchical structures. The opportunity to interact as equals, to be valued for personal qualities rather than social position, and to form relationships based on mutual interest and respect rather than obligation, provided important psychological relief from the pressures of stratified society. Political discussions in the baths took on a different character than those in the Forum or Senate House, where formal protocols and competitive dynamics often prevented genuine dialogue. In the relaxed atmosphere of warm water and shared vulnerability, Romans could discuss public issues more openly and honestly, leading to better understanding of different viewpoints and sometimes to genuine changes of opinion. The integration of freed slaves into Roman society was facilitated by bathhouse democracy, where former slaves could interact with freeborn Romans on terms that approached equality. These interactions helped break down prejudices and stereotypes while providing opportunities for freedmen to demonstrate their capabilities and character outside the context of their previous servitude. Military veterans found particular welcome in the democratic atmosphere of the baths, where their service to the empire was respected regardless of their current economic circumstances. Former soldiers could share stories of their campaigns with younger Romans who had never seen military service, contributing to the martial spirit that was so important to Roman identity, while also processing their own experiences of war and conflict. Artistic and intellectual life flourished in the creative democracy of the baths, where poets could find audiences for their work, philosophers could engage in informal debates, and artists could display their creations to diverse groups of potential patrons and critics. The relaxed atmosphere and diverse audience provided ideal conditions for the kind of cultural exchange that characterized the best aspects of Roman civilization. The maintenance of order within this democratic space required subtle management and the development of unwritten codes of behavior that preserved the peaceful atmosphere while allowing for genuine social interaction. Bathhouse attendants and managers played crucial roles in maintaining these standards, intervening diplomatically when necessary while generally allowing the natural social processes to proceed without interference. As Romans emerged from their bathing sessions, they carried with them not only cleansed bodies and refreshed spirits, but also expanded social horizons and new relationships that had been impossible in the more stratified world outside. The democracy of the baths thus contributed to social cohesion and understanding throughout the empire, creating bonds of common humanity that helped hold together a civilization of unprecedented diversity and complexity. As the sun traced its ancient arc across Roman skies, and the day's heat began its slow retreat into evening coolness, the time came for bathers to begin their gentle journey back from the timeless realm of warm waters and peaceful contemplation to the world of duty and endeavor that awaited beyond the bathhouse doors. This transition, like every other aspect of Roman bathing culture, was approached with careful attention to the needs of both body and spirit, ensuring that the benefits of the thermal experience would extend far beyond the marble walls that had sheltered it. The process of leaving the Roman bath was as ritualized and thoughtful as the process of entering had been. Romans understood intuitively what modern psychology has confirmed, that abrupt transitions from states of deep relaxation to normal activity can be jarring and counterproductive, potentially negating many of the benefits that careful bathing had provided. Instead, the departure from the baths followed a measured sequence of activities and experiences designed to preserve and extend the sense of peace and restoration that had been so carefully cultivated. The final visits to the pools were often the most contemplative of the entire bathing session. Bathers who had progressed through the full sequence of temperatures from the gentle warmth of the tepidarium through the intense heat of the caldarium to the shocking cold of the frigidarium often returned to the tepidarium for a concluding soak that would help their bodies find a comfortable, equilibrium before facing the outside world. These final immersions were typically quieter and more meditative than earlier ones, as bathers used the time to consolidate their experiences and prepare mentally for their return to ordinary life. The application of final oils and the last use of this ritual took on particular significance as part of the departure ritual. These final preparations served both practical and symbolic purposes, sealing the pores that had been opened by heat and cold, while also creating a protective barrier between the purified body and the potentially harsh environment of the streets outside. The oils chosen for these final applications were often different from those used earlier in the bathing process, lighter and more subtle, designed to provide protection without overwhelming the senses that had been refined by the bathhouse experience. The tepidarium, the changing room that had served as the threshold for entry into the bathhouse experience, now became the space for the reverse transformation, the gradual resumption of social identity through the donning of clothing and the recovery of personal possessions. This process was approached with the same deliberate care that had characterized the undressing ritual, allowing time for the body to adjust to the weight and restriction of clothing after the freedom of nudity. The selection and arrangement of clothing for departure often required more thought than it had for arrival. Bodies that had been thoroughly warmed, massaged, and cleansed felt different in their garments, more sensitive to textures and temperatures. Romans often chose softer fabrics and looser fits for their departure, allowing their refreshed skin to continue enjoying the sensory benefits of the bathing experience. The wealthy might change into fresh clothing brought by their attendants, while others simply appreciated the feeling of clean garments against thoroughly cleansed skin. Personal grooming took on special significance as part of the departure ritual. Hair that had been dampened by steam or immersion was carefully arranged, often with the assistance of skilled attendants who understood how to create styles appropriate for the post-bath state. Cosmetics, when used, were applied with careful attention to enhancing the natural glow that bathing had provided rather than masking or competing with it. The recovery of personal possessions from their storage niches became a moment of reconnection with the identity and responsibilities that had been temporarily set aside during the bathing experience. Jewelry was replaced with conscious attention to how it felt against newly sensitized skin, while money pouches and other practical items were checked and secured for the journey home. This process of reclaiming worldly goods served as a gentle bridge between the timeless realm of the baths and the time-bound world of daily concerns. The social aspects of departure created final opportunities for connection and relationship building. Friends who had shared the bathing experience often made plans for future meetings, whether for return visits to the baths or for other activities in the outside world. New acquaintances exchanged information about where they might be found, creating networks of relationship that extended the social benefits of bathhouse democracy into the broader community. Business relationships that had been initiated or developed during bathing sessions were often formalized during the departure process, with arrangements made for future meetings or preliminary agreements reached about potential collaborations. The relaxed and honest atmosphere of the baths provided an ideal foundation for these professional connections, which often proved more durable and mutually beneficial than those formed in more formal commercial settings. The architectural design of bathhouse exits facilitated the gradual transition back to ordinary consciousness. Corridors leading from the changing areas to the street entrances were often longer and more winding than the paths taken during entry, allowing time for mental and physical adjustment to the approaching change of environment. These passages might include small gardens or courtyards where departing bathers could pause to experience the transition between indoor and outdoor environments gradually. The contrast between the controlled environment of the bathhouse and the unpredictable conditions outside was managed through careful attention to timing and preparation. Attendants might provide information about current weather conditions, helping bathers choose appropriate clothing and prepare mentally for the temperature and atmospheric changes they would encounter. On particularly hot or cold days, special preparations might be recommended to ease the transition. The timing of departure was often crucial to maximizing the benefits of the bathing experience. Leaving too quickly after intense heat or cold exposure could cause discomfort or even health problems, while staying too long could lead to overexposure or fatigue. Experienced bathers learn to read their body's signals and time their departures to coincide with optimal states of balance and well-being. The journey home from the baths became an extension of the therapeutic experience, with many Romans choosing routes and transportation methods that would preserve the sense of peace and restoration they had achieved. Walking was often preferred over riding, as the gentle exercise helped maintain circulation and prevented the stiffness that could result from prolonged immersion in warm water. The pace of these homeward journeys was typically slower and more contemplative than normal Roman travel. The dietary considerations following bathing were well understood by experienced bathers and Roman physicians alike. The cleansing and warming effects of the baths often enhanced appetite, while also making the digestive system more sensitive to different foods and drinks. Light meals were generally preferred immediately after bathing, with an emphasis on foods that would support the body's continued recovery and restoration. The social obligations that awaited bathers upon their return to the outside world were often approached with renewed perspective and energy. The relaxation and social interaction experienced in the baths frequently provided fresh insights into ongoing problems and relationships, while the physical restoration enhanced the energy available for addressing challenges and opportunities. Many Romans reported that their best decisions and most creative solutions emerged during the hours immediately following a thorough bathing session. Family relationships were often enhanced by the bathing experience, particularly when family members had shared the baths together, or when one spouse returned home refreshed and renewed to greet the other. The peace and contentment that followed a good bathing session created ideal conditions for intimate conversation, affectionate interaction, and the strengthening of familial bonds that were so important to the Roman social structure. The sleep that followed a day that included a thorough bathing session was typically deeper and more restorative than ordinary rest. The physical relaxation achieved through warm water immersion, combined with the mental peace that came from social interaction and the temporary escape from daily concerns, created ideal conditions for the kind of sleep that truly restored both body and spirit. Many Romans timed their bath visits specifically to enhance their evening rest. The economic impact of the post-bath period was subtle but significant. Romans who felt refreshed and restored were often more productive in their work, more creative in their thinking, and more positive in their business relationships. The investment of time and money in bathing thus often paid dividends in enhanced professional performance and improved economic outcomes, justifying the expense as both luxury and practical necessity. The cultural and intellectual stimulation provided by bathhouse social interaction often continued to bear fruit long after the bathing session had ended. Ideas encountered in bathhouse conversations might be pursued through further reading or discussion, while relationships formed in the democratic atmosphere of the baths could lead to ongoing intellectual exchange and collaborative projects that enriched Roman cultural life. The seasonal rhythms of Roman life were often punctuated by bathing experiences that helped mark transitions and celebrate the changing year. Summer baths might be followed by cool evening activities that took advantage of the body's enhanced ability to appreciate moderate temperatures, while winter bathing sessions could be concluded with cozy gatherings around warm fires that felt even more welcoming to bodies that had experienced a full range of thermal sensations. The medical benefits of the complete bathing experience often became most apparent in the hours and days following the session. Improved circulation, reduced muscle tension, enhanced skin condition, and better overall sense of well-being were common results that could last for days or even weeks after a thorough visit to the baths. These lasting benefits made regular bathing an important component of Roman preventive healthcare. The spiritual and psychological effects of the bathing experience often deepened during the quiet period following departure from the baths. The sense of purification and renewal that began in the warm waters continued to develop as bathers returned to their normal activities with enhanced perspective and renewed energy. Many Romans described feeling more connected to their essential selves and more capable of addressing life's challenges after a complete bathing experience. The preservation of bathhouse friendships and relationships required ongoing attention and effort, but the bonds formed in the democratic atmosphere of the baths often proved remarkably durable. Regular bathing schedules allowed friends to maintain contact and continue the conversations and relationships that had begun in the warm waters, creating social networks that could provide support and companionship throughout life's various challenges and changes. As Romans settled into their evening activities, their bodies still carrying the warmth and relaxation of their thermal journey, they embodied the success of a cultural institution that had managed to address simultaneously the human needs for cleanliness, health, social connection, and spiritual renewal. The gentle return from the timeless realm of the baths to the time-bound world of daily life carried with it the promise that this sanctuary of peace and restoration would remain available day after day, offering its gifts of healing water and human community to all who chose to enter its marble embrace. The Roman bathhouse, in its elegant integration of architecture, engineering, and social wisdom, had created something unique in human history, a space where the best impulses of civilization could flourish in an atmosphere of shared humanity and mutual care. As our bathers closed their eyes that night, bodies still tingling with the memory of warm water and healing touch, they carried within them the profound peace that comes from being truly clean, truly relaxed, and truly connected to the community of their fellow human beings. And so our journey through the Roman baths comes to its gentle end, like the last ripples of warm water settling into stillness. We have walked together through marble halls where steam once rose like incense, where voices murmured in quiet conversation, and where the ancient art of truly resting was practiced with reverence and care. The Romans understood something that our busy world sometimes forgets, that true restoration requires time, that healing happens gradually, and that the simple gifts of warm water and peaceful community can transform not just our bodies, but our spirits as well. As you drift towards sleep tonight, perhaps you can carry with you some echo of that ancient wisdom. Feel the gentle warmth of imagined waters, hear the soft splash of distant fountains, and remember that rest itself is a sacred thing, worthy of time and attention and care. Thank you for joining the Sleep Library on this peaceful journey through time. Until our next gentle exploration of history's quiet corners, may you find your own sanctuary of rest and renewal. Sleep well,